We're going to start with a very profound question on a Tuesday. Is it Tuesday?
Yes, it is.
There's yes. Get the day straight. What does it mean to belong to a culture? Big question. Well, celebrated American-born Canadian author Thomas King, who spent his entire career telling Indigenous stories, revealed in a Globe and Mail essay recently that he is, in fact, not Indigenous. The 82-year-old author said his mother told him his father was part Cherokee. He learned that when he was just 3 years old. But after recently hearing rumors that were questioning his Indigenous heritage, he decided to dig into it more and was discovered and made the discovery himself that, in fact, he is not Indigenous. So King says that he has nothing to apologize for and that he did not purposely pretend to have Indigenous roots. So we're going to all have reaction to the story. I'm sure you're thinking about it as well. Riley, what's your reaction when you heard the story?
Yeah. Not again.
Yeah, I know. I'm
here
exhausted.
we go again.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I feel like it was not too long ago we were here talking about this with Buffy St. Marie.
Yes.
And, just so many examples. And this is one that I had also heard rumors about for years and years and years. And so it is, dubious to me that it's like, I've been hearing about it for years.
Yeah.
Why now are we doing this? But like more than anything to me, like I feel like it's just another iteration of a common misconception that like family lore does not equal peoplehood. Like that does not equal identity. And in the article, he details that that's really what he was going on, is he believed. And I also take real issue with the idea that like, I didn't mean to do anything wrong, and so I'm not going to be apologizing for this. Intention is not over impact. Impact is what you did.
Yeah.
Impact is what you have to apologize for regardless of your intentions. And what your impact was is that you took a lot of money, a lot of positions, a lot of story away from people, even if it was not intentional. And apparently they're going on to publish his next book still, regardless
his
of
publisher
this
sticking
coming out.
with him.
Right? And so I think that there's a lot here that has to be reckoned with, that article doesn't do necessarily a great job with. But my God, am I tired of talking about pretendians.
May I ask you a question? Because identity, I mean, listen, especially when it comes to Indigenous cultures, there's something here I want to point out, the obvious. I don't know if we have a picture of Thomas King, but if you look at him, and certainly when he shows pictures of him when he was young, he and his brother do look very different when they're little boys compared to the rest of the kids in the family. So he was probably from a young age thinking, well, what was the reason to question? We certainly, I hate to use this, look potentially Indigenous. So where does the idea that maybe he, this is Thomas King probably more currently,
recent,
I would. So, I mean, not to say that, okay, well, I look at therefore I must be it, but where do you think things could have gone differently for the better if he was thinking, well, what are these rumors and what about the way I look and should I look into this further? Right. Was this incumbent on him?
I mean, as a child, I think is a very different position than as an adult. Yeah. As an adult, and especially an adult with the immense resources and access and privilege that he had, I think that that's where there was an obligation probably to do this before he was 82 years old. However, I do think that you're touching on something that I think is at the heart of why a lot of people claim this false identity, which is like this sense, and we were just talking about this backstage, of wanting to belong to something. Yeah. And also this sense of grief, of like feeling like you don't belong somewhere, a feeling like perhaps you're complicit in colonialism. What's a way to not have to deal with this grief? Well, what if I'm on the receiving end of colonial harm? I think that there's a lot of psychological, theory that goes behind why people do this that doesn't, justify it, but does explain perhaps why this is, such a phenomenon that we're seeing in Canada and elsewhere.
Yeah, I think it speaks to like this question of whether or not it's time to grieve or time to assign responsibility to an individual like Thomas King, Because obviously his own personal identity is a struggle that we all deal with in different cultures, especially in a place like Canada where you can feel divorced. My name is Miguel Ernesto Rivas. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, for instance. And
no bueno.
No bueno. Yeah. Say vraiment grave. Wait, that's wrong. Obviously, we all have to go through that journey, and maybe it will take you till you're 82 years old. But there's something different when you make it your career and identity.
When you profit off
and you
of it.
profit off of it. It feels like it can potentially. I don't want to speak. I don't know all of the details of every single person's experience, but it feels like willful neglect at some point, doesn't it?
You know what? Especially
you just don't want to look into it.
Or especially when you think about what his career entailed. If you're an author of fiction and nonfiction, you know the number one thing you have to do? Research. If you're going to be a professor, which he was at a university, you know what you have to do? Research. So tell me, in this very long, illustrious, very successful career with all this research, you never thought to research your own family, your own ties? And obviously, it wasn't a hard find because a genealogist at TAAF found the information. So it's not like you couldn't find the information, but I also want to give him a little bit of grace because he's 82 years old, and I'm thinking maybe that when his mother passes information on to him and his brothers, like, yeah, you guys are part Cherokee, which, by the way, who doesn't have a friend who's pretended to be connected to the Indigenous community? I have about 20. Everybody's got a little bit of Cherokee in them. But I think when he knew he was going to make money off of it, that's when I question if he didn't do, why didn't you do the work? Because why wouldn't that be part of your work? If I say I'm from something and I'm going to write a book, it would be incumbent on me to also connect myself and let the audience know, hey, this is who I am. This is where I come from, and I did the work, and this is also my story. And he never thought to do that.
He did a little bit. He talks about this in the article.
But not enough.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's timing, and maybe it's better technology. So the story that he says in the article, which we can choose to believe or not believe, is that, again, his mother told him and his brother when they were young, your father is part Cherokee. He then does revisit this, and he actually goes and talks to his aunt because he's having these weird, like, something doesn't feel right. I need to get more information. And then he finds out that the man that he thought was his biological father was not. And then finds out there was another man with the last name Hunt, and that the aunt said, but he for sure was Cherokee. So he did do the work.
But
so
he's going off hearsay and not fact,
but he does say, and I don't know if you can speak to this.
My aunt says a lot of stuff.
No, but the point is, hold on. He addresses it. He said there is an oral history of lineage in my family. Now, to what extent we believe that? He said there was the oral history of my history, and now we're going back into the turn of the century. I mean, this is not that you can
And we're also
Google
going
it,
through
right?
the
I'm not trying to
Indigenous...
defend him. I'm saying he does address how he was
a little bit, but not enough.
Indigenous histories were destroyed so many times over, right? A lot of genealogy is unclear in those communities, and so there has to be some understanding in how, wrestling with what those communities have gone through as they look at history. But again, it's forefronting yourself, I think, that maybe presents the challenge now in hearing about it.
He's wrestling with this. I don't think the story's done. I don't think it's done.
The worst part is those opportunities and all that money are gone, and we'll never know what could have been for the real Indigenous people who could have benefited from that. And that to me is at the heart of this and the saddest part about it.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens next.